About a month ago, I made a video talking about how Surge was the most tragic Sonic character, and while I still stand by that, my good friend Alice the Hedgehog pointed out how tragic Kit was, so I decided to make a video on him. Here it is. Kit the Fennec from Sonic IDW Publishing is one of the most emotionally complex and quietly tragic characters in the modern Sonic universe. On the surface, he seems calm, polite, and even a little shy, but underneath that is a deeply fragile person shaped by dependency, fear, and a desperate need to belong. Kit isn't just loyal. He's defined by his attachment to Surge. Unlike typical sidekicks who choose to follow someone, Kit's bond with Surge feels almost like it's the only thing giving his life structure and meaning. This comes from how they were created and raised. Kit didn't grow up naturally forming relationships or discovering who he was. Instead, he was conditioned to support Surge. Because of that, his identity is incomplete. He doesn't fully know who he is without Surge. That's what makes him so interesting. He isn't just loyal, he's dependent. Kit may be quiet, but he's also unstable. He doesn't express emotions loudly. He's not explosive or aggressive like Surge. Instead, his instability is more subtle and honestly more unsettling. He tends to stay calm in intense situations. He speaks gently and respectfully, and he avoids conflict unless it involves protecting Surge. However, that calmness isn't true peace, it's suppression. Underneath that surface, Kit struggles with fear of abandonment, low self-worth, and confusion about right versus wrong. When he is pushed too far, that bottled up emotion begins to leak out in a dangerous way. He becomes more intense, obsessive, and even a little scary. Not because he wants power, but because he's terrified of losing the one person he depends on. Another thing is his moral compass that's warped by loyalty. Kit's sense of right and wrong is shaky. He does not make decisions based on morality or anything. Instead, he constantly asks himself one question: is this what Surge needs? Because of this mindset, he is willing to help with destructive plans, enable harmful behavior, and ignore consequences. He does these things not because he's evil, but because he does not believe in his own judgment matters. This is a key difference between him and characters like Sonic or Tails. Sonic acts on strong personal values, while Kit bases everything on someone else's. Surge and Kit's relationship is the heart of his character, and it is deeply complicated. On one side, he genuinely cares about her. He wants to protect her, and he feels safest when he is with her. On the other side, he relies on her so much that he struggles to exist independently, and he enables her worst tendencies. While Surge is loud, chaotic, and rebellious, Kit is quiet, controlled, and submissive. They balance each other, but not in a healthy way. Their dynamic feels less like an equal partnership and more like a system where Surge represents identity, direction, and purpose, while Kit acts as a support system and emotional anchor. Without Surge, he feels lost, and that's what makes their bond feel tragic. Kit's water-based powers are not just visually cool, they are symbolic. Water can be calm, flowing, controlled, and precise, or overwhelming and destructive. And that rage reflects Kit perfectly. Most of the time, he is still water, meaning he's quiet and controlled. However, when things go wrong, he becomes like a flood, overwhelming and hard to stop. His powers mirror his internal state, where control represents emotional suppression and overflow represents emotional. Kit stands out because he is so different from typical Sonic characters. For example, Tails seeks independence and grows into his own person, while Shadow struggles with identity but ultimately defines himself. Kit, however, has not reached that point yet. He is still stuck asking himself what he is without someone like Surge to depend on. This makes him more realistic in a way, but not really. Because he is not a truly formed hero or villain. Instead, he's someone in the middle, still trying to figure himself out. At his core, Kit's tragedy is simple but powerful. He does not believe he has value on his own. Everything he does is tied to someone else. Every decision, action, and goal ultimately connects back to Surge. This creates a painful question. If Surge disappeared, what would be left with Kit? For now, the answer is unclear. That uncertainty is what makes his character arc so compelling. Some potential character growth for Kit would probably have the most potential in the entire series. If his story continues, the most important step for him would probably be learning to think for himself, developing his own moral compass, and understanding that he has value beyond serving someone else. That journey would not be easy. It would likely involve him breaking away from Surge, or facing his fear of being alone, and making choices that he personally believes in. If he ever reached that point, he could become one of the most powerful and emotionally grounded characters in the series. But in conclusion, Kit is not just a side character, he's a logical character study. He represents the struggle between dependency and independence, the conflict between loyalty and self-destruction, and the tension between identity and emptiness. He's not loud or flashy or anything like that, but he is one of the deepest characters in the Sonic IDW series.